A dawn mist settles over neat rows of an Amish vegetable garden, the rich aroma of earth and morning dew filling the air. A horse-drawn plow creaks in the distance as an Amish farmer tends his fields by hand. In this journey, we'll wander through Amish gardens and uncover 30 time-tested vegetable gardening hacks, practical tips passed down through generations. These techniques come wrapped in old-fashioned wisdom and nostalgia, offering modern gardeners, especially those of us over 60, a comforting reminder of simpler ways. Sit back, relax, and imagine the soft crunch of soil underfoot as we learn from the Amish how to nurture a bountiful vegetable garden. Chapter 1. Nourishing the Soil. The Amish have an old saying, "Take care of your soil, and it will take care of you." In Amish country, preparing the soil is a sacred spring ritual. Rich, dark earth is the foundation of every thriving garden. Let's start with the time-honored soil hacks that Amish growers swear by, ensuring their gardens burst with healthy vegetables year after year. 1. Use aged manure for fertile soil. One of the Amish gardeners' not-so-secret ingredients is plain old barn manure. Decades of experience taught them that composted animal manure from cows, horses, or chickens works wonders to enrich garden soil. Why it works? Manure is packed with nutrients like nitrogen and improves soil texture by adding organic matter. Amish farmers pile up manure each fall and let it age into a mellow compost over the winter. Come spring, they spread that black gold onto their fields, creating a nutrient-rich bed for planting. Tips: if you have access to composted manure from a local farm or garden center, work it into your garden soil a few weeks before planting. A couple of inches of well-rotted manure mixed into the topsoil will boost fertility naturally, no synthetic fertilizer needed. Your plants will thank you with vigorous growth and hearty yields, just as Amish gardens have prospered for centuries using this method. 2. Build rich black gold. The Amish waste nothing. Kitchen scraps, autumn leaves, and barn litter all go into large compost piles to create what they lovingly call black gold. They know that homemade compost teems with life, beneficial microbes and nutrients that feed the soil. Why it works? Compost improves soil structure, helps retain moisture, and slowly releases a buffet of nutrients to your plants. Amish gardeners often keep a compost heap at the edge of the garden, turning it occasionally with a pitchfork. Over months, vegetable peels, coffee grounds, grass clippings, and manure rot down into dark, sweet-smelling humus. Tips: start a simple compost pile or bin. Pile up your organic kitchen waste and yard trimmings. Keep it slightly moist and aerate it by mixing periodically. Over time, you'll have nutrient-rich compost to spread in your garden beds. Just like Amish farmers, you'll be making your own fertilizer, returning organic matter to the earth in a sustainable loop. Come planting time, mix a few spadefuls of finished compost into each planting hole or row. You'll be rewarded with healthier soil and stronger plants. 3. Recycle wood ash for extra nutrients. All winter long, Amish families heat their homes with wood stoves. Come spring, the leftover wood ashes are not thrown away. They're spread onto the garden soil as a natural amendment. Those ashes are rich in potassium and calcium, key nutrients for many vegetables. Why it works? Wood ash is alkaline, so it can help raise the pH of acidic soils while adding essential minerals. Amish gardeners have long known that a light dusting of wood ash is like giving the soil a vitamin boost. It's especially useful for root crops like carrots and beets, or nightshades like tomatoes, which appreciate the extra potash. Tips: if you have a fireplace or wood stove, save the ashes in a metal bucket. In spring, sprinkle a thin layer of cooled, powdery wood ash over your garden and lightly rake it in. About 5 to 10 pounds per 100 square feet is plenty. Be careful. A little goes a long way. Too much ash can make soil too alkaline. If you're unsure, you can mix ash into your compost pile instead of applying directly. This old Amish trick gives your soil a gentle lift in fertility, basically recycling last winter's fires to fuel next summer's crops. 4. Plant cover crops to recharge the soil. After harvest, Amish farmers rarely leave their vegetable plots bare. They sow cover crops like clover, rye, or buckwheat to protect and improve the soil over winter. These cover crops, also called green manure, prevent erosion, suppress weeds, and add nutrients naturally. Why it works? Cover crops such as clover actually fix nitrogen from the air into the soil, acting as a living fertilizer. Their roots break up hard ground and increase organic content when later turned under. Amish growers often broadcast clover seed in fall or early spring among rows. The result is a lush green carpet that will be plowed into the soil before the next planting season. Tips. After you finish harvesting a section of your garden, try planting a quick cover crop. For example, sow annual ryegrass or clover in the fall. Let it grow and do its work improving your soil. Come spring, simply turn the cover crop under the soil or cut it down and compost it. Even on a small scale, this hack boosts soil fertility the natural way, just as Amish farmers have rejuvenated their fields for generations. 5. Rotate your crops. Each year, walk through an Amish kitchen garden in different years, and you'll notice the cabbage patch has moved, the corn is in a new corner, and last year's potato row now hosts beans. This is crop rotation, a cornerstone of Amish gardening. They rotate crops season to season so that no plant grows in the same spot as last year. Why it works? Different plants have different nutrient needs and pest threats. Rotation prevents any one type of pest or disease from getting established in the soil, since its host plant isn't there the next year. It also keeps the soil from getting exhausted. For instance, this year's heavy-feeding corn is followed by next year's soil-enriching beans. Amish farmers might follow corn with soybeans or clover, then perhaps plant vegetables in that spot the year after. Tips. Even in a home garden, you can practice rotation. Avoid planting related crops, like tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants, or broccoli and cabbage family crops, in the same soil 2 years in a row. Plan your garden layout to shuffle plant families around. For example, where you grew tomatoes last summer, plant beans or peas next, since legumes return nitrogen to the soil. Rotation is a simple, old-time practice that keeps your soil healthy and your plants less prone to pests. The Amish have proven its value over centuries. 6. Read your weeds. The Amish believe the good Lord gives signs for those who pay attention, even in the form of weeds. One clever trick: certain weeds can tell you about your soil chemistry. For example, if you see red sorrel, a tangy weed, aggressively taking over, it's a clue that your soil is too acidic. Why it works? Many weeds are bioindicators. Sorrel and plantain love acidic conditions, whereas clover prefers sweet, alkaline soil. Amish gardeners note what wild plants thrive in their garden and adjust accordingly. If sorrel is crowding out your veggies, it's likely time to add lime or wood ash to raise the pH. Tips. Take a walk through your garden and identify the common weeds. Are acid-loving weeds rampant? That might mean your soil pH is low. You can confirm with a simple soil pH tester. The Amish often use basic soil test kits available at farm stores to guide their amendments. If the soil is too acidic, low pH, mix in some garden lime or wood ash in the fall or spring to sweeten it. If it's too alkaline, high pH, indicated by certain other weeds or whitish soil, you might add sulfur or organic matter. By reading your weeds like the Amish do, you gain insight into your soil's health and can fix issues to create the perfect growing environment. Chapter 2. Planting Wisdom of the Amish. Amish gardeners plant with care and foresight, guided by tradition, nature, and a bit of ingenuity. From timing their planting by the signs of nature to choosing reliable heirloom seeds, their planting practices blend practicality with age-old wisdom. Let's open the seed box and explore their tips for sowing and planting. 7. Follow nature's planting calendar. The Amish often time their planting by natural cues rather than just dates on a calendar. For example, an Amish grandmother might say, "Plant peas when the lilac bushes have fat buds, but before those buds burst into bloom." Indeed, they sow their early peas as soon as the lilac buds swell in spring, but haven't opened yet. These phenological cues ensure you're planting at a favorable time. In this case, lilac buds swell when soil temperatures are just right for peas. It's an intuitive way to work with nature's rhythm. Another example. Some Amish farmers will plant corn when oak leaves are the size of a squirrel's ear, a sign that the threat of frost is past. Tips. Observe the plants in your own yard or neighborhood. Nature will tell you when conditions are right. When the forsythia blooms, it's time to plant lettuce and cool weather crops. When the apple blossoms start to fall, you can set out your tomato transplants. You don't need to memorize every old saying, but start noting patterns, maybe even jot them in a garden journal. Using natural cues to time your planting, as the Amish do, helps you avoid losses from late frost or poorly timed sowings. It's like having Mother Nature as your gardening assistant. 8. Choose heirloom seeds for flavor and resilience. In Amish gardens, you won't just find the latest hybrid tomato from a big catalog. More often you'll find heirloom varieties, seeds passed down for generations, because they perform well and taste delicious. The Amish practice biodiverse heirloom planting and seed saving to preserve genetic diversity. Heirloom vegetables are open-pollinated, meaning they'll grow true to type from saved seeds. They often have superior flavor and adapted tolerance to local pests or climate. By planting a mix of heirlooms, Amish gardeners ensure a resilient garden. If one variety fails, another may thrive. For instance, they might grow an old variety of tomato known in their community for its vigor and canning quality. Tips. Try incorporating some heirloom seeds in your garden. Look for heirloom or heritage varieties of your favorite veggies, maybe Brandywine tomatoes or Blue Lake beans, and give them a spot in your plot. These plants connect you with an older strain of genetics. Over seasons, you can even save seeds from the best fruits. More on that next. Not only will you enjoy often better flavor, many heirlooms were bred for taste and reliability, but you'll also help preserve these time-tested varieties. It's gardening with a nod to our ancestors, much like the Amish do to maintain biodiversity. 9. Save your own seeds for next year. In late summer, Amish gardeners don't just harvest vegetables, they also harvest seeds. Seed saving is a cherished practice. After all, why buy new seeds each year if last season's crop can provide what you need? Amish families carefully remove seeds from their best vegetables and dry them for planting the next year. For example, they might scoop out and dry tomato seeds from the juiciest tomato, or keep beans on the vine until fully mature and dry to save as seed. Saving seeds not only saves money, it also gradually adapts your plant stock to your local conditions. Over years, seeds from the survivors and thrivers in your garden will produce plants even more suited to your soil and climate. It's natural selection guided by the gardener. Tips: choose a few crops to save seeds from, preferably open-pollinated or heirloom types. Hack 8. Easy ones include tomatoes, beans, peas, peppers, and lettuce. Let some fruits fully ripen. For instance, allow a couple of cucumbers to turn yellow and plump to collect seeds, or leave a few bean pods on the plant until they rattle dry. Collect those seeds. Rinse if needed, as with tomato seeds, which you ferment slightly to remove the gel. Then dry them thoroughly on a paper towel. Store seeds in labeled paper envelopes in a cool, dry place. Next spring, plant your very own seeds. You'll feel the pride that comes with continuing a cycle, much as Amish gardeners swap and share seeds that their great-grandparents grew. Over time, you might even develop your own family seed line, a true legacy for future generations. 10. Pick sturdy seedlings. Skip the spindly ones. When it comes to planting out seedlings, whether ones you raised or bought from a nursery, the Amish have a keen eye. They choose young plants with stout, thick stems and healthy green growth, even if they are a bit shorter, and avoid overly tall, spindly seedlings. A stocky, well-grown seedling indicates a strong root system and good health. A very tall, thin seedling may have been grown in low light or too crowded, causing it to stretch. It often can't handle the shock of transplant because its root-to-shoot balance is off. The small root system can't support the large top. Amish gardeners know a smaller but robust plant will take off faster once in the ground. Tips: when you're selecting transplants, tomatoes, peppers, cabbages, etc., look for plants with thick stems, perky leaves, and no roots poking out of the pot's bottom. Don't be seduced by height. A tomato seedling that's 6 inches tall but thick-stemmed is far better than one that's 12 inches but leggy. If you grow your own starts, give them plenty of light and space so they stay compact. By planting only the sturdiest seedlings, you set your garden up for success, a lesson Amish farmers adhere to when stocking their fields. It might mean discarding a wimpy plant or two, but it's worth it when the rest thrive. 11. Feed the whole. Add nutrients at planting time. Here's an Amish transplanting trick. When setting out young plants, they often add a scoop of organic fertilizer into each planting hole. This could be well-rotted compost, composted chicken manure, or a bit of compost tea or liquid kelp. The idea is to give each seedling a little boost right where its roots need it during those first critical weeks. Amish gardeners have observed that plants establish faster with this extra nourishment. For example, an Amish tomato patch might get a handful of composted horse manure or a splash of diluted compost tea in each hole before the tomato transplant goes in. This feeds the plant gradually as it roots in. Tips: next time you plant out seedlings, or even sow large seeds, try feeding the hole. You can mix a trowel of compost into the bottom of the planting hole, or pour a cup of all-natural fertilizer solution, like fish emulsion or compost tea, into the hole, then set your plant. For tomato and pepper transplants, some gardeners also swear by adding a tablespoon of Epsom salt for magnesium or crushed eggshells for calcium at planting, tricks very much in line with Amish organic methods. Whatever you choose, ensure it's an organic, slow-release amendment. By front-loading some nutrition, your young plant gets a steady snack as it settles in. Just be sure the material is well composted. Fresh manure can burn roots. The Amish know to use only aged manure or mild feeds at this stage. Your seedlings will settle into their new home with much less stress and grow stronger from the start. 12. Plant at the right depth, especially tomatoes. The Amish pay close attention to planting depth when putting plants in the ground. The rule of thumb: transplant most seedlings at the same depth they were growing in their pot, except for tomatoes. Tomatoes get a special treatment. Amish gardeners plant them deep, right up to the first true leaves. Most veggies, peppers, cucumbers, cabbages, etc., are prone to stem rot if planted too deep, so it's safest to transplant them level with the soil surface they had in the pot. But tomatoes are different. Their stems can sprout extra roots when buried. By planting a tomato deeply, or even sideways in a trench, covering much of the stem, you encourage a robust root system to develop along that stem. Amish gardeners have long taken advantage of this trait to grow sturdier tomato plants. Tips: when transplanting, handle each type of plant appropriately. For peppers, eggplants, marigolds, lettuce, etc., make your hole such that the plant's root ball sits so its top is level with or just slightly below the garden soil. Backfill gently and firm it in. For tomatoes, dig a deeper hole or trench. Pinch off the lower leaves of the tomato seedling, leaving a top cluster of leaves. Bury the stem up to just below those top leaves. Your tomato will quickly send out new roots from the buried stem, giving it more ability to take up water and nutrients. This leads to a more vigorous plant. Remember to water all transplants well after planting to settle the soil around roots. By minding planting depth like this, you reduce transplant shock and give each plant the best start, an approach any Amish gardener would approve of. 13. Pre-soak hard seeds for faster germination. In Amish homes, you might find a small bowl on the kitchen counter the night before spring planting, filled with water and seeds of peas, beans, or corn. Why? The Amish know that soaking certain seeds overnight can greatly improve germination. Large, hard seeds have tough coats. By soaking them in warm water for 8 to 12 hours, you soften that seed coat. This allows moisture to penetrate and signals the seed to start sprouting faster once in soil. Why it works? It's a jump start for germination. You're essentially rehydrating the seed, which can cut days off the sprouting time in cool spring soil. Tips: try this with seeds like peas, pole beans, sweet corn, sunflower, morning glories, or any particularly hard seed. Place them in a cup or jar of room temperature water the night before you plan to plant. By the next morning, you'll often see the seeds have swelled up. Plant them immediately in your prepared garden bed. Don't wait too long, or they might get waterlogged or even start to mold. Keep the soil moist. You'll likely see seedlings emerge a bit sooner than usual. One Amish farmer shared that he always soaks his pea seeds so he can get a head start on the season even in chilly soil. It's a simple trick that costs nothing. Just be mindful not to soak tiny seeds or those with very thin shells, like lettuce or carrots, which don't need it. This easy hack can bring you earlier and more even germination, just as it has served Amish growers eager to maximize their short spring planting window. Chapter 3. Natural Pest Control and Companion Planting. In an Amish garden, you won't find chemical pesticides or high-tech solutions to pest problems. Instead, you'll see marigolds tucked among tomatoes, chickens wandering after beetles, and clever homemade remedies at work. The Amish have learned to deter pests and nurture healthy plants using nature's own tools. Let's explore their natural pest control hacks, techniques that protect the garden's bounty while keeping things all organic. 14. Plant companions that repel pests. The Amish often interplant flowers and herbs among their vegetables, not just for beauty, but for pest control. A classic example: bright orange marigolds bordering a tomato patch. These cheery flowers aren't there by accident. Marigolds are known to deter certain insect pests and even nematodes in the soil. Similarly, Amish gardeners might plant aromatic herbs like basil, dill, or mint around crops to confuse or repel harmful insects. This is the art of companion planting. Many flowers and herbs emit strong scents that can mask the smell of vegetable plants or repel bugs outright. Marigolds, for instance, produce a scent that pests like whiteflies dislike, and their roots release compounds that can repel nematodes, microscopic worms that attack roots. Nasturtiums are another companion often planted to lure aphids away from cucumbers or squash. Amish gardens are usually a polyculture mix, which naturally keeps pest populations in check, since pests that prefer one plant might be deterred by the next. Tips: diversify your garden. Instead of planting one big block of a single crop, break it up with companion plants. Plant marigolds, calendula, or nasturtiums along edges and between veggies. Tuck in some basil near tomatoes. Folks say it improves flavor and repels flies. Mint near cabbage, in pots since mint spreads to deter cabbage moths. Or rosemary and sage near carrots and beans. Sunflowers or dill can attract beneficial insects that predate on pests. By embracing this Amish-style mingling of crops, you create a garden ecosystem that naturally guards against infestations. Plus, you'll have a prettier garden with flowers to enjoy, a bonus the Amish certainly appreciate as well. 15. Sprinkle crushed eggshells to deter slugs and add calcium. Slugs and snails are the bane of many gardeners, devouring tender seedlings overnight. The Amish have a simple, frugal remedy: crushed eggshells. After using eggs in the kitchen, they dry the shells, crush them up, and sprinkle the sharp bits in a ring around vulnerable plants like lettuce or young cabbage. The theory, and practice, is that slugs and snails, which have soft bodies, dislike crawling over the jagged eggshell pieces. It's equivalent to us walking on broken glass. This creates a physical barrier that these slimy pests avoid. As a side benefit, eggshells gradually break down and add calcium to the soil, which can help prevent issues like blossom end rot in tomatoes, a calcium deficiency. Amish gardeners are happy to get two benefits from one humble waste product. Tips: the next time you crack eggs, rinse out the shells and let them dry. Once you have a handful of dry shells, crush them finely, but not to powder. You want little sharp fragments. Scatter these in a band around the base of plants that slugs love. Renew after heavy rain or watering, as they can sink into soil over time. You can also mix some crushed shells into the soil of tomato and pepper holes for the calcium boost. It's an all-natural, zero-cost slug repellent. Keep in mind, very hungry slugs might still find a way, but this hack often significantly reduces damage. The Amish have relied on it, and many organic gardeners find it effective. At the very least, you're enriching the soil in the process. 16. Brew homemade garlic and pepper spray. When bugs like aphids, cabbage worms, or beetles start feasting, Amish gardeners turn to their kitchen apothecary. A favorite fix is a homemade insect repellent spray made from ingredients like garlic, hot peppers, and soap. These are blended or steeped in water to make a potent tea, then sprayed on plants to deter pests. Garlic contains sulfur compounds that repel many insects and even fungal diseases. Hot pepper, capsaicin, is an irritant to many pests. One taste and they leave the plant alone. A bit of mild soap, like pure dish soap or Castile soap, helps the mixture stick to leaves and can suffocate soft-bodied pests like aphids on contact. The Amish, who avoid chemical pesticides, find that such concoctions can save a crop from bugs without harming the environment. Tips: you can make your own Amish insect spray easily. Take a few cloves of garlic and a couple of hot peppers, or a spoonful of cayenne powder, and blend them with a quart or two of water. Let it steep for a while, several hours or overnight. Strain out the solids, then add a few drops of liquid dish soap to the strained liquid. Pour this into a spray bottle. Spritz it on the foliage of affected plants, top and bottom of leaves, where you see insect activity. Reapply every few days or after rain until the pests are gone. Use it in early morning or evening to avoid sun scald on wet leaves. This spicy garlic brew is a time-honored remedy. It's safe, cheap, and surprisingly effective as a repellent. Be careful not to get it in your eyes or on skin. Wear gloves, as it's basically pepper spray. This DIY approach exemplifies Amish resourcefulness, using simple pantry items to protect their gardens naturally. 17. Encourage beneficial insects and birds. Rather than simply battling bad bugs, Amish gardeners prefer to invite nature's helpers into the garden. Their plots often have birdhouses or nesting boxes nearby, and you'll see butterflies and bees fluttering among the flowers by design. By attracting beneficial creatures, ladybugs, lacewings, praying mantises, toads, birds, the Amish let these friends keep pest populations in check. Beneficial insects prey on pests. For instance, a single ladybug can eat dozens of aphids in a day. Birds like wrens or bluebirds will pick off caterpillars and beetles to feed their young. Toads patrol at night eating slugs. By creating a welcoming habitat, Amish gardeners enlist an army of allies. They avoid pesticides that would harm these beneficials, focusing instead on maintaining a healthy, biodiverse garden. Tips: make your garden a friendly place for beneficial wildlife. Plant some flowering herbs or wildflowers that attract ladybugs, hoverflies, and parasitic wasps, which lay eggs in pests like tomato hornworm, grisly for the pest, but good for your plants. Dill, fennel, yarrow, and cosmos are great choices. Consider setting up a birdhouse or two on the perimeter of your garden, or a bird bath for water. Birds help with insects, though beware of them nibbling berries. You might need netting for those. A small rock pile or overturned clay pot in a shady spot can offer a cool daytime hiding place for toads, who will then hunt at night. The Amish also often allow a strip of tall grasses or flowers near the garden as habitat for predatory insects and spiders. By fostering this mini ecosystem, you essentially create a self-regulating garden. Fewer pests will get out of hand because their natural enemies are on site. This hack is more about how you garden than something you do one time, but it's incredibly effective over the long run, and it embodies the Amish philosophy of working with nature's balance. 18. Use row covers to protect crops naturally. In Amish communities, you might notice certain rows in the vegetable patch covered with what looks like translucent cloth, especially early in the season. These are row covers, often a lightweight muslin or mesh, that act as a physical barrier to insects. Row covers prevent pests from reaching the plants to begin with. For example, Amish gardeners will cover young cucumber or squash plants with a breathable mesh to stop cucumber beetles from landing and laying eggs. They might keep cabbage under cover to thwart cabbage butterflies from depositing those little green worms. The covers also have the side benefit of offering frost protection on chilly nights. The Amish favor this method because it's simple and chemical-free, just fabric and some wooden hoops or sticks to keep it aloft. Tips: you can buy garden row cover fabric, sometimes called floating row cover or agribon, or use tulle enchoche netting. Drape it over your plants, ideally supported by hoops or stakes, so the fabric isn't directly crushing the plants. though for short seedlings it can just float on top. Make sure to secure the edges with stones, bricks, or soil so insects can't crawl underneath. Keep the cover on until the plants are robust, or until they flower. You'll need to uncover flowering crops like squash or cucumbers during bloom to allow pollinators access, unless you hand pollinate. For non-flowering crops like lettuce or cabbage, you can leave it on until harvest if pests remain an issue. It's an upfront bit of work, but it can save you from major infestations. Amish farmers have used burlap or muslin covers for generations. Today's materials are even easier to work with. This technique is like putting a protective curtain around your plants so pests simply can't get to them. If you've ever lost a whole row of seedlings to beetles, or seen your eggplants full of holes from flea beetles, you'll appreciate the beauty of this barrier method. Chapter 4. Weeds, Water, and Garden Maintenance. A well-tended Amish garden appears almost effortless, but behind the scenes are regular habits that keep weeds at bay and plants well watered. The Amish have clever ways to reduce backbreaking weeding and to make the most of rain and water without fancy irrigation systems. In this segment, we delve into maintenance hacks, straightforward practices that yield big results in keeping a garden thriving and low maintenance. 19. Mulch generously to smother weeds and conserve moisture. If you stroll through an Amish vegetable plot, you'll notice many plants are surrounded by straw, shredded leaves, or grass clippings. This thick layer of mulch is an Amish farmer's trusty friend. Why it works? Mulch covers the bare soil, blocking sunlight from reaching weed seeds, which dramatically cuts down on weed growth. It also holds in soil moisture by reducing evaporation, which means less frequent watering. As a bonus, organic mulches, like straw or leaves, break down over time and improve soil fertility. Amish gardeners often lay straw mulch around crops like potatoes, tomatoes, and squash to keep the weeds down and the soil moist and cool. How to apply it? After your seedlings are up and established, or after transplanting starts, surround them with mulch. Good options include clean straw, old hay, grass clippings that haven't been treated with chemicals, shredded autumn leaves, or even layers of newspaper-soaked cardboard under a natural mulch. Aim for a layer about 2 to 3 inches thick around plants. Keep the immediate inch around the plant stem bare to prevent any rot, especially in damp weather. In pathways between rows, consider laying cardboard topped with straw to really suppress weeds. You'll quickly notice you spend far less time weeding. The soil underneath will stay soft and moist. Worms will love it, and so will your plant's roots. This method has kept Amish gardens famously tidy, with far less effort pulling weeds. One caution: if using straw or hay, make sure it's seed-free. You don't want to introduce weed seeds. By mulching deeply, you're imitating the forest floor, nature's weed-proof, moisture-preserving blanket. 20. Embrace innovative mulch, plastic film mulching. Ever adaptive, some Amish growers even use black plastic sheeting to cover their vegetable rows as a form of long-lasting mulch. Especially for market gardens or larger plantings of things like strawberries, melons, or corn, you'll see stretches of black plastic laid down over the planting beds, with small holes where each plant grows through. This might surprise those who think the Amish use only natural materials, but remember, plastic mulch doesn't require electricity or engines, so it's permitted in many Amish communities. Black plastic completely blocks weeds and helps soil retain moisture, and also warms the soil in spring. It can greatly reduce labor on weeding and watering. Amish farmers have found it so effective that they even have horse-drawn equipment to help lay the plastic over raised rows. It's durable and can sometimes be reused for a couple of years. Tips: on a small scale, you can use rolls of garden plastic mulch available in nurseries. Prepare your bed, lay soaker hose or drip irrigation if you want underneath, since rain won't penetrate the plastic. Then roll out the black plastic tightly over the bed. Bury or pin down the edges so it stays put. Cut X-shaped slits or holes at the spacing you want, and plant your seedlings or seeds in those holes. The result? Nearly no weeds and reduced watering needs. This is excellent for water-intensive plants like tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and melons. Do note, in very hot climates, black plastic can overheat the soil or plants. There are also reflective or white plastics for those situations. While this method doesn't add organic matter, it hugely saves time. Many Amish truck farmers combine plastic mulch with drip irrigation for highly efficient plots. For the home gardener, using a sheet of plastic or even an old tarp on a section of garden can be a game changer against weeds. Just be sure to remove and dispose of the plastic responsibly at the end of the season. The Amish, ever thrifty, will often roll it up to reuse if it's still intact. 21. Weed early, and often with simple tools. Amish gardeners have a secret weapon against weeds: consistent, early weeding. Instead of waiting until weeds are jungling around their veggies, they take a stirrup hoe or hand hoe and scuffle through the topsoil weekly, or even more frequently, when weeds are just tiny sprouts. By catching weeds when they're small, thread stage, or just emerging, you can clear them with minimal effort, just a quick scrape of the soil. This prevents weeds from ever establishing deep roots. The soil in Amish gardens is often kept loose, so a push of a hoe cuts off baby weeds at the root. It's far less work than pulling big weeds later. Additionally, the Amish often use wheel hoes, a human-powered wheeled cultivator, to quickly cultivate between long rows, uprooting young weeds in a jiffy. Tips: make it a habit to walk through your garden with a hoe once or twice a week, especially after rain or irrigation when weed seeds germinate. Use a stirrup, scuffle hoe, or a sharp regular hoe to slice just under the soil surface. You don't have to spend hours. Just a regular 10-minute session can do wonders. If you see any weeds starting, nip them immediately. In areas you can't hoe, hand-pull tiny weeds while the soil is soft. It's actually quite meditative, and by staying on top of it, you avoid the dreaded day-long weed pull later. The mantra is, nip weeds in the bud. The Amish also strategically weed. They prioritize removing weeds that are about to seed first. Never let a weed go to seed. By being diligent early, your garden will remain relatively weed-free with much less total effort. As the Amish would tell us, doing a little work often is easier than a lot of work seldom. 22. Collect rainwater for your garden. Water is precious, and Amish homesteads often lack modern plumbing or extensive well capacity for irrigation. So, they ingeniously harvest rainwater for their gardening needs. Large barrels or cisterns are placed under roof eaves to catch rain from barns and houses. In one Amish greenhouse example, gutters channel rain into a big barrel, and a network of simple pipes with small holes gently drip waters the plants. Rainwater is free, and plants prefer it. It's soft and chemical-free, no chlorine, etc. By storing rainwater, Amish gardeners ensure they have a supply during dry spells, and they reduce dependence on pumps or municipal water. Tips: set up a rain barrel at your home. Even a small shed or garage gutter can fill a 50-gallon drum with surprisingly few showers. Most hardware stores sell rain barrels with spigots. Position one under a downspout. Screen the top to keep mosquitoes out or use a lid. Use that stored water to hand water your vegetable rows with a watering can. If you're handy, you can connect a soaker hose to a barrel and let gravity do slow irrigation. Elevate the barrel for better flow. On a larger scale, multiple barrels or a tote can be linked. The Amish sometimes have above-ground cisterns or repurpose old containers for this. One of their advanced setups used a series of elevated barrels and tiny holes in pipes to create a drip irrigation in a greenhouse, all gravity-fed. You don't need to get that fancy. Even one rain barrel will give you dozens of gallons of gentle water for your garden. Not only does this conserve water, important if you pay for city water or have a weak well, it also ties you more closely to the natural rain cycles as the Amish are. You become mindful of using stored rain between the sky's offerings. 23. Water in the morning and aim for the roots. Amish gardeners follow common-sense watering practices that many old-timers will recognize. They water early in the day, and they water at the base of the plants, not overhead if it can be helped. Morning watering gives plants a drink to face the heat of the day and allows wet foliage to dry off, reducing risk of fungal diseases, which spread more easily on damp leaves at night. Watering at the roots ensures the water goes down to where it's needed, roots, rather than evaporating off leaves or encouraging mildew. The Amish, who often water by hand or use simple irrigation, naturally tend to direct water to the soil. They also often use mulch, Hack 19, which further directs water to roots and keeps it there. Tips. Try to water your garden in the early morning. Not only is it often a peaceful time to be in the garden, with cool, quiet dawn air, one can imagine Amish farmers tending rows at sunrise. It's also best for the plants. If you can't do morning, late afternoon is second best, allowing a bit of drying time before nightfall. Avoid the hottest part of the day when a lot of water just evaporates. When you water, use a watering can with the rows removed or a hose with a gentle flow, and target the soil around the base of each plant. Give a good deep soak rather than frequent light sprinkles. You want the water to penetrate down. Deep roots make for sturdier, drought-resistant plants. If you use sprinklers, do it early so leaves dry quickly. The key lesson from Amish and traditional gardeners: consistency and timing. Many Amish tie watering into daily chores. It becomes routine, not haphazard. By watering in the morning and keeping leaves dry when possible, you set your garden up to grow robustly and with fewer disease issues, all with mindful water use. Chapter 5. Extending the harvest and season. The growing season can feel all too short, but the Amish have tricks to stretch it on both ends. They start seedlings when frosts still linger and coax fresh produce well into autumn. They also plan their gardens to maximize yields throughout the year, ensuring plenty for fresh eating and canning. In this chapter, we'll learn how Amish gardeners extend their season and keep the harvests coming. 24. Use cold frames for an early start. Long before modern greenhouses were common, Amish and other traditional gardeners built cold frames to start seeds in late winter. A cold frame is basically a mini greenhouse, a wooden box or frame with an old window or clear lid on top, placed facing the sun. Amish folks fill these with a bit of rich soil, and sometimes even fresh manure, for heat, and sow cold, hardy seeds inside. A cold frame traps solar warmth and insulates young plants from cold spring nights, allowing you to start lettuce, greens, and even early tomatoes weeks earlier than open ground would permit. It's a season extender that doesn't require electricity, perfect for Amish who can't use electric heat. The soil inside warms by day, and, with the lid closed at night, usually stays warm enough to prevent frost on seedlings. Tips. You can build a simple cold frame yourself. Use some old lumber to make a bottomless box, maybe 1 to 2 feet tall. The back should be a little higher than the front, so the glass top slopes towards the sun. An old window sash or even clear plastic can serve as the lid. Place your cold frame in a sunny, south-facing spot, ideally sheltered from north winds. Fill it with good soil or place seed trays inside. Sow your seeds in late winter for hardy greens or early spring. On sunny days, prop the lid open a bit to prevent overheating and to give seedlings air. At night or during cold snaps, keep it closed. The Amish often line the inside edges with straw for extra insulation and even put jugs of water inside. Water absorbs heat by day, releasing it at night. This hack essentially creates a microclimate. As a result, Amish gardeners can have crisp lettuce and spinach in April when others are just planting, or have sturdy tomato seedlings ready to go as soon as frost passes. You too can enjoy earlier salads and head-started seedlings by employing a cold frame, a beautiful example of low-tech ingenuity that anyone can use. An Amish-style cold frame made from reclaimed windows extends the growing season by trapping daytime heat. Inside, young seedlings bask in sunlight even on chilly days. Gardeners can start cool weather crops weeks early as the cold frame keeps frost at bay during the night. By adding bricks or stones inside, as one Amish gardener does, the frame holds extra warmth to protect tender sprouts. This simple wooden box with a glass lid empowers you to grow lettuce, greens, and even hardy seedlings while winter's grip still lingers outside. 25. Harness hotbeds, or greenhouse heat for winter growing. Some Amish go a step beyond cold frames and create hotbeds, a traditional technique using fresh manure's heat to warm a cold frame, or they heat entire greenhouses with wood stoves to grow plants in colder months. Imagine a greenhouse on an Amish farm in February. No electric heater, but a wood-burning stove in the corner, or piles of horse manure under planting benches, generating gentle warmth as they decompose. Fresh manure, especially horse or cow, will heat up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit or more as it breaks down, releasing heat for several weeks. By burying cables of fresh manure under a layer of soil in a cold frame, thus creating a hotbed, or using a wood stove in a greenhouse, Amish gardeners can maintain above freezing, even spring-like conditions in the dead of winter. This lets them start seeds extraordinarily early or even grow winter greens. Tips. For a DIY hotbed, dig out about 2 feet of soil where you'll place your cold frame. Fill that pit with a mix of fresh manure and straw, up to a foot or more. Then cover with a layer of garden soil. Place your cold frame on top. As the manure decomposes, it will heat the soil from below. You can start seeds in this warm environment much earlier than normal. Monitor the temperature. You may need to vent if it gets too hot initially. Alternatively, if you have a small greenhouse or hoop house, consider a safe wood heat source. Amish greenhouses often have a simple wood stove inside. They may also use tricks like painting large rocks black and placing them in the greenhouse to absorb heat by day and release at night, or even a barrel of water for thermal mass. For the home gardener, a full greenhouse may be out of reach, but a cold frame or mini hoop tunnel with some heat source, manure, or even Christmas lights under a frost blanket in modern adaptation can extend your growing season dramatically. These methods come straight from 19th century practice. The fact that Amish communities still use them today speaks to their effectiveness. With a little effort, you too can harvest salad greens on Thanksgiving or have tomato seedlings in March, thanks to a warm hotbed under glass. 26. Succession plant for continuous harvests. The Amish make remarkable use of their land by planting in succession. As soon as one crop is done, they have another ready to go in its place. They might plant an early crop of peas or lettuce, then follow it with beans or cucumbers for summer, and perhaps end with a fall planting of turnips or spinach. They also stagger plantings of the same crop. For example, instead of planting one big row of sweet corn all at once, an Amish gardener might plant a shorter section every week or two over a month. This yields fresh corn over a longer period, rather than all at once. Succession planting maximizes yield from a given space and provides a continuous supply of produce. By planning multiple waves of planting, you avoid glut and scarcity. The soil also doesn't stay idle. As soon as one harvest is finished, the next crop is already growing. Amish farms are known for producing an abundance of food, partly due to these intensive succession plantings. Tips: plan your garden in time as well as space. Identify quick maturing crops, radishes, lettuce, bush beans, peas, that you can plant early and harvest, then follow with a second planting of something else in mid-summer. For instance, after harvesting spring spinach or scallions, you could plant carrots or late beans in that spot. Also, for crops like sweet corn, green beans, zucchini, and lettuce, do multiple smaller plantings spaced 1 to 2 weeks apart rather than one big sowing. This way, as one planting finishes producing, the next is ready to take over. Mark your calendar to remind you to plant the next round. The Amish also utilize late summer for a second spring, sowing cooler crops again in late August for fall harvest, like kale, beets, and turnips, which can handle cooler weather. By copying this rhythm, you'll find your garden yields more and wastes less. It requires some planning, but once you get the hang of it, it's immensely rewarding. As Amish farmers demonstrate, you can coax multiple harvests in one growing season from the same plot of land by smart sequencing. Your table and pantry will have a steady flow of homegrown goodness from spring until frost. 27. Grow extra for canning and year-round use. The Amish gardening philosophy isn't just about eating fresh in summer. It's about providing for the family year-round. That's why Amish gardens are often larger than typical suburban ones, and why they plant a surplus specifically for canning and storage. They'll grow big patches of tomatoes for tomato sauce, rows of beets for pickling, bushels of green beans for pressure canning, and plenty of sweet corn to be cut off the cob and canned or frozen. Planting with preservation in mind ensures there's food in the pantry during winter. The Amish can preserve in jars 5 to 10 times more quarts of food than a non-Amish household typically does. By growing extra, they also have a buffer in case of crop failure or to share with neighbors. There's an efficiency, too. It's easier to can large batches when you have a large, uniform harvest. Tips: think about what produce you'd enjoy in the off-season. If you love homemade pickles, plant more cucumbers than you need for fresh eating, so you can pickle the rest. If you savor tomato soup or sauce in winter, expand your tomato patch and be ready to can or freeze the bounty. Plant an extra row of green beans to blanch and freeze, or to can as dilly beans. Focus on crops that preserve well: tomatoes, beans, beets, carrots, potatoes, winter squash, cucumbers, pickles, cabbages, sauerkraut, corn, peas, apples, sauces and pie filling, berries, jams. When harvest comes, set aside time, perhaps a weekend, for processing those extras. In Amish culture, this is often a family activity. Multiple generations might gather to can a truckload of sweet corn or make apple butter. Take joy in the process as well. Play some music or do it with a friend. By intentionally planting, not just for now but for later, you'll stock your larder much like an Amish homemaker. Come winter, you can open a jar of homemade stew or jam and taste a bit of summer sunshine, knowing it came from your foresight in the garden. It's a deeply satisfying way to garden that connects the seasons. 28. Keep a tidy, well-planned garden layout. One striking thing about Amish gardens is how neat and well-planned they are. Straight rows, clear paths, and often a fence or defined border. This isn't just for looks, though there is pride in a tidy garden. It's very practical. A well-planned layout makes maintenance easier and maximizes productivity. For instance, Amish gardens often integrate a few flower rows alongside vegetables. These might be cutting flowers for the home or beneficial companion flowers, but they also break up the space visually and functionally. Walkways are kept weed-free, sometimes mulched or planted in grass and clipped, so that tending and harvest are comfortable. Tall crops are typically planted to the north side of shorter crops to avoid shading them. Trellises or stakes for vining plants, like pole beans, tomatoes, cucumbers, are sturdy and set early, keeping plants off the ground and orderly. When your garden has a thoughtful design, everything from weeding to watering flows better. Plants have the space they need and access to sun. Maintenance is less a chore because you can move around easily. The Amish treat gardening almost like an art form, everything in its place. Tips. Before planting, map out your garden on paper. Plan rows with adequate spacing. Consider orienting rows north-south if possible for even sun, and put taller crops on the north or west side so they don't cast too much shade on shorter plants. Designate footpaths or stepping stones so you don't compact soil around plant roots. Keeping some kind of border, like a low fence or even a simple twine and stake outline, not only keeps out critters and defines the space, it also mentally helps you focus your efforts inside that area. Use stakes and trellises liberally. For example, stake tomatoes early and tie them up as they grow, or use teepees for beans and cucumbers. This vertical approach saves space and keeps fruits cleaner. You can even emulate the Amish touch of incorporating flowers. Perhaps a row of zinnias or sunflowers at the end of a vegetable bed, or marigolds lining the edge, doubling as pest deterrent from Hack 14. A pretty garden is more inviting to work in. Amish gardens often look like patchwork quilts, orderly yet full of life. By planning and tidying as you go, never leaving tools or debris laying about, pulling weeds before they spread, etc., you'll create a pleasant and productive space. It's not about perfection, but rather an ongoing mindful care. As a result, your garden can become a source of pride and joy, as well as abundant produce. And as an added benefit, a neat garden is less likely to harbor pests and diseases, since airflow and visibility are improved around well-spaced plants. Chapter 6. Timeless Ingenuity and Final Tips. Beyond specific techniques, what truly sets Amish gardening apart is a spirit of ingenuity, frugality, and patience. They garden with what they have, repurposing materials and keeping traditions alive. In this final segment, we'll touch on a couple more tips that encapsulate the Amish approach, and wrap up our journey with a bit of heartwarming garden philosophy. 29. Harden off seedlings for a gentle transition. When Amish gardeners move plants from the sheltered greenhouse or cold frame to the open field, they harden them off gradually. This means exposing the young plants to the outdoors a bit more each day, over a week or so, rather than plunging them straight into full sun, wind, and chilly nights. Just like us, plants can get sunburn or shock if they go abruptly from a cozy indoor environment to the great outdoors. Hardening off allows them to toughen up. Stems strengthen in the breeze, leaves adjust to the sun, and fluctuating temperatures. Amish farmers might take their flats of seedlings out of the greenhouse during the day and bring them back in at night for several days, or they place them in a shaded porch, then progressively into more sunlight. Tips: if you've raised seedlings under lights or in a greenhouse, or even if you bought seedlings from a nursery, give them a hardening period before planting in the garden. Start by putting them outside in a shady, protected spot for a couple of hours, one mild day. The next day, leave them out a bit longer and perhaps give them dappled sun. Over the course of 5 to 7 days, increase their outdoor time and sun exposure. By the end of the week, leave them out overnight, provided it's not frosty, so they experience cooler temps. Keep them watered, since small pots dry out faster outdoors. After this transition, plant them in the ground on a cloudy day or in the evening to reduce transplant shock. You'll find they establish much more quickly and hardly wilt at all because they're already adapted. This patience in hardening off is something the Amish routinely practice. It's an extra step, but it can make the difference between a setback and a successful start for your transplants. It epitomizes the Amish way. A little patience yields better results. 30. Repurpose and reuse. Amish frugality in the garden. Perhaps the most endearing hack of all is the Amish knack for using what's on hand. They are masters of repurposing materials in the garden. An old buggy wheel might become a trellis for pole beans. Worn-out metal pie plates get hung on strings to flap and scare birds from the berries. A broken chair can support climbing roses. Feed sacks are laid down as weed block fabric, and old windows turn into cold frames, as we saw, instead of going to the dump. This frugality isn't just about saving money, it's about seeing potential in humble things, a mindset rooted in gratitude and ingenuity. Reusing materials saves cost and reduces waste, obviously, but it also lends a charming resourcefulness to your garden. You solve problems in creative ways without always running to the store. The Amish have limited access to new commercial products, so they innovate, and often their solutions are simple and effective. Tips: look around your shed, garage, or attic for items that could serve a function in the garden. Do you have some old lattice or fencing? That could be a cucumber trellis, extra bricks or cinder blocks. They can outline raised beds or anchor row covers. Large empty cans or milk jugs can become protective cloches for seedlings. Just cut the bottom out and place over a plant to shield from cold or pests. An old barrel can become a rain barrel. If a tool breaks, maybe you can give it a second life. Amish folks might fashion a new handle for a beloved hoe rather than toss it. Even twigs and prunings are put to use. Stout branches become tomato stakes, thin grapevine trimmings turned into plant ties. Before buying something new, think, what do I already have that could do this job? This mindset channels your inner Amish craftsman. Not only is it satisfying to solve a need with a repurposed solution, but your garden gains character and story. That patchwork of an old-world feel, a garden that visibly thrifts and thrives, is exactly what you'll find behind Amish farmhouses. It's a beautiful lesson that a great garden doesn't require fancy gadgets or expensive supplies, just a bit of creativity and the pioneer spirit. As the twilight deepens, we take one last look at our Amish garden. Fireflies wink above the rows, and contented crickets sing. The day's work is done, and what a fruitful day it's been. We've journeyed through 30 Amish gardening hacks, each one a testament to working with nature, using wisdom passed down, and keeping things simple and genuine. From enriching the soil with manure and compost teas, to planting by the signs of lilacs, from warding off bugs with marigolds and garlic sprays, to extending the harvest with cold frames and succession planting. These techniques carry a nostalgic charm, yet they're utterly practical for any gardener today. In adopting some of these hacks, you're not just improving your garden. You're connecting with a tradition of self-reliance and respect for the land. The Amish garden reminds us that a flourishing vegetable patch is as much about heart and habit as it is about techniques. It's the early mornings watering by hand, the evenings pulling a few weeds while humming a hymn, the saving of seeds and sharing of surplus with neighbors. So as you prepare for your next gardening season, take a page from the Amish playbook. Try one of these tips. Add some eggshells to your tomatoes, or build a little cold frame for spring greens, and see the difference it makes. You might find your garden growing not only more abundantly, but with a little extra soul in it. In the end, the Amish show us that gardening isn't just a hobby. It's a way of life tuned to the rhythms of sun and rain, growth and harvest. It's about faith in tomorrow's bloom and wisdom from yesterday's trials. Here's to gardens that feed our bodies and our spirits. Happy gardening, and thank you for joining this journey through Amish vegetable patches. May your own garden be bountiful, and may these old-time tricks become new friends in your gardening adventures.